Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are here at a spectacular panel where we will be speaking about just the Black and TTRPG experience. What does it mean to be Black when you're playing and running TTRPGs? What are some of the struggles we face? We'll be talking about the good, the bad, the ridiculous, and of course, our dice. Because yeah, we're going to talk about our dice. In fact, we're going to open with dice. I'm going to ask everybody pull a d6 and roll it. Let's see who's introducing themselves first.
Let's do this. 5.
Also 5.
5.
What?
Now
Let's
look,
go.
No, I'm dead serious.
everybody put the d6 away, grab a d8. We explode these dice here. Let's do it again.
Okay. 8.
7.
8.
Okay, we got 2 8s and a 7. We're going to go from lowest to highest. So, Blurty, we're going to start with you. Introduce yourself, and then I'm going to have Shavante and Scout roll off.
All right. Howdy, folks. My name is Blordy Disposition, he, him, and they, them pronouns. YouTuber, GM, content creator, artist, and black old nerd. I'll pass it over to Scout.
But
I
will
thought we were
you?
rolling off.
No. Scout,
Oh.
Shavante,
What
roll
are you
up
rolling?
to D10.
Oh, snap.
We explode these dice.
7.
5.
All right. Scout.
Oh, we're going lowest to highest. Okay. Hi, I am Scout, also known as Neon Saline. That's neon like the light, saline like the drip. I am a streamer, writer, artist. I do a lot of things in a lot of places. I crochet. That's a thing that's coming back in my life. But happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Shavante.
And that is me. Howdy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary finies, and hellions of all walks of life. My name is Javante. I'm your resident TTRPG goblin, dungeon master, lore writer, aspiring voice actor, and also currently a writer for Games Workshop. Somehow that happened. I run TTRPGs every Thursday, and just kind of all around do random stuff on the stupid internet.
Spectacular. Thank you. I was about to say, did I hear non-binary finies? Because that is yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. And I'm Arnica, GM, occasional moderator, occasional player, and every so often I help out around producing things here and there. It's fine. Thank you, Jen. And we are all here today. I'm so excited. We were supposed to be here last week, and my headset blew. And it was the saddest thing that ever happened to me. But now I have a pink one, so it's okay again. Now, let's go ahead and talk about. Let's ease into this. Let's talk about how did you really get started in TTRPGs? Like, what was your entrance to this space? Javante, why don't you go ahead and start since you went last?
That's fair. So I had like 2 separate intros. So when I initially wanted to join in was like my local game stores always did, D&D during 3.5. And I've always been a little drama kid. So I was like, roleplay, that's cool. At the time that role-playing at the table wasn't really liked. Fell out of it, came back in when World of Darkness kicked off like majorly with New World. So I got into Vampire the Masquerade, and then Promethean, and then Changeling. And then I jumped headfirst when my friend introduced me to Critical Role, specifically Campaign 2, and was like, oh, people are actually role-playing. Cool, I could do that. Took my mom's old D&D world and then remade it into a campaign. Did that with a couple friends. And then on a whim was like, hey, somebody did a casting call for an all monk one shot. Time Lord's wife did a casting call for an all monk one shot, which I joined and was like, I'm not getting cast. Like nobody, I'm literally a random on the internet. Got cast. I was like, oh, this is cool. So continued to do that. And then I think my biggest thing for being and staying in the TTRPG sphere, huge shout out to Arclight Court. Brought me into the nerdiest side of the fandom of TTRPGs and was like, hey, I'm doing Power Rangers. Let's do Power Rangers. And I was in Arcanines. And that gave me enough like pull to go, I don't have to just do like regular D&D and it just be regular D&D. I could do whatever I want. And now I do just do whatever I want. Now I run One Piece, and now I do an anime game, and now I do kind of just whatever I feel like doing. Now I make my own stuff. But no, my journey was like, nobody wants to roleplay to, I'm going to make you roleplay.
Okay, one, I love that. Two, I want everyone to see that there's literally a note. We're coming back to your mom's, to the generational D&D world. We're circling back to that. So exciting. The thought that I can pass down a D&D world to my son. You've stirred something in me. Scout, tell me
Okay.
about your intro.
So Javante and I are slightly the same person. I started playing. I was like the pet freshman of a bunch of seniors in my high school that played D&D, and I didn't know how to play. So one of them made me like a double-sided character sheet of like 2 different characters because he was like, I think you'll have fun with this. And it was a blast. And then he moved away and I was sad. And then when I went to college, I joined a vampire LARP. So I went full speed into just role playing extra hard. I also like I didn't play a lot of D&D. Like I would start and like bounce out, but like I ended up playing stuff like Vampire. There was a Changeling LARP we had. There was the Verboten Exalted game. That was an experience. But I've gotten better and played more Exalted. I used to be part of a GM staff for basically Don't Sue Us, the event at an anime convention in New Jersey called Anime Next. And it was a live action roleplay where we would stat out characters from like different animes and write a plot for the weekend. And I was there for like 4 years. And then I think my entrance into like the wider space as like a performer was Wesselhausen, I think, was the first person who they did like a I can't remember what the title is, but it was basically defending trans rights. We raised money for like mermaids, and I went out for it, got cast, and I was like, oh, okay, and then just started going out for casting things whenever I saw them. So I've worked with a couple of other folks, and I have been doing this so long that I'm now writing an RPG hack because I've been enabled severely. So I am in a whole space by yes, by jellyfish eyes.
2 out of 3 of these have ended with, and now I'm writing. Let's see if we can get a 3 out of 3 because I would love that, but it's all right. I'll be impressed even if you don't. Flirty, how'd you get into it?
So I learned about tabletop games in college. I've always been like really into TRPGs. I love anime. It's like it's like my 1/4 of my personality trait, right? And sad boy yaoi. So those two combined just kind of melded together when I got into the RPG hobby in college. I got introduced to 5e, and I thought the concept was just fascinating. I get to play a character and create it. And I started playing around maybe like 2019. I was playing and I was thinking, is there more to this? Can I explore other things? And I didn't know that other games existed. So in 2020, I was traveling, I was studying abroad for a bit, and I was just looking on the internet, and I found other games online, and I got introduced to, I think, vaguely remember 3 different games: Monster Hearts, second edition, World of Dungeons, which is an OSR game, and I got introduced to another Every Older game of some kind. So, mind you, I was introduced to a variety of different games like OSR and story games very early on, and I just thought to myself one thing: this is fucking awesome. Excuse my language, not really. And from there, I just got a hyper obsession, and I really just focused in and thought, I like YouTubers. I like watching video essays. I like anime video essays. And I wasn't seeing a lot of Black folk just talk about nerdy shit and non-D&D games. So I just started pivoting to that, and I've been doing it ever since. The videos weren't very good, but the fun part is I kept writing, and they're now definitely good. Just takes fucking forever to write them, but I'm very happy about it. And now I just cover pretty much any game that isn't 5e pretty much. And yes, I love Monster Hearts second edition.
You're muted.
Arnica, I think you might be muted.
You're muted. Thank you. So I'm getting, this is, like I said, it's a brand new headset. And so I'm still trying to remind myself to hit the hard mute and the soft mute, just so that the closed captioning doesn't catch the random conversation happening in the background when they know I'm soft muted. And I'll remember by the end of the show, in the last 5 minutes, I will remember. But that's not the concern. What we're talking about is better things, funner things. Like, so now that you've told me how that you got into TTRPGs, let's talk about the first time you found yourself at a majority or an all black table. What was it? Just, were you driven to find one? Was it just a lucky circumstance? Did you have to seek them out? Did they seek you out? Tell me a little bit about that first experience. Scout, why don't you tell me first?
Okay, so the first time I was actually at like an all black table, I'm pretty sure was actually I'm gonna mention Jellyfish Lines again. They had have a public access game that I was part of, and like part of that is my fault because like I've been like running around and I am in like mostly black spaces, but I am a lurker, like real serious, like online. Like in person, I'm pretty okay at like going up to people and like, oh, this thing looks interesting, and like introducing myself. But there's something about interacting on like Discord servers. I can't do it. Like, so I've been lurking in historically black dice for like 2 years. And I'm like, I want to hang out with people, but also no. So I'm trying to, that's my like resolution for the back half of this year, is to start like being more active in spaces with us. Cause like I can shoot my shot in general, but I'm like, no, I should be like, I want to play with I don't want to have to explain myself when I say shit sometimes. So like that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Mute.
No, I've done it again. Blurdy, how about you?
I have a similar story. Scout, my first predominantly black game was in the historically black dice server. I know for a fact I joined about going on 2 years now. I definitely either joined at the end or middle of 2024 or the end of 2023, because I actually wrote a video about HBD or mentioned it multiple times. So I joined it and I was just like, holy crap, like people just get me. Like I run horror games often, and I ran liminal horror a couple like months back for October. And there is something really freaking fun about a whole bunch of black folk playing a horror game together, and we get to lean into the tropes, and we get to like break the tropes, and sometimes we just get to make references. Like one person was mentioning a dog, right? And they were mentioning like there was like these beastie dogs that they were fighting, and one of them was like, "Man, why my black guys in this horrible town? I was trying to go to vacation." It was some of the best comedy ever because I was just like, I agree, and they all agree that this is stupid. Why are they here? So I love historical black dice. It was one of the first times I've been in a predominantly black game and as a GM, and it was honestly, I wish it would. I wish for any other black person watching this, like legit, please join the server, join a game.
Okay, I'll join the game. I'll do my best.
Well, thank you.
Uh, Okay. Now look, there we go. All right. So, how about you? Tell me about the first time you found yourself in an all black table.
So, Apochromatica Limited, Black History Month 2024. Um, we did a Chronicles of Darkness game. Uh, NIMBY, not in my backyard, and it was a all POC table, and I remember each like the 2 days we did this. I would then go to my friends and have to explain like there is no other feeling that I could express to you when I run games for you all that I had in this as like a player. It is so vastly different if everyone has a very like a shared experience and can relate to that experience. That is so vastly different from like any of the games I've done. Even if those experiences are uncomfortable, it's so different. And then like yeah, I can't say enough good things about APOC. APOC U is awesome. Um and that was like my first real foray into an all POC table. Um and then funnily my second was with Jellyfish. With, with playback static. So um but yeah, like my experiences are a little limited, but I do every one of them I can remember fondly, and like I gravitate to them now.
That's spectacular. It is for anyone who has never had the chance to sit at an all black table, or if you are of a different minority, just a table full of people who understand y'all have the same cultural background. It's an enormous moment. It really does mean so much to make the joke, and then you don't have to do the pause because everybody got it. Instead of being met with the awkward, what is the whole table laughed exactly on cue. It's, until the first time it happens, you don't realize how much you missed it. Um, I was I was lucky enough that when I got into TTRPGs, it was primarily online. I had had a few terrible attempts in the 90s in high school, living in a really, 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 really white state where if you wanted to play TTRPGs, you played in a at a table full of sweaty white dudes in a room full of sweaty white dudes. Only thing worse than being the only girl there is being the only black person and girl. Not in the store, not in the neighborhood, in the county. Like, you can't even. Whoo! Eventually, you're just like, the dice aren't worth it. So when I got back into TTRPGs online via APs, it was spectacular because the majority of tables I've been lucky to sit at have been at least half BIPOC. Girls Run These Worlds gave me my first all black table. They actually let me run my first all black table. Um, I got to run for years. I got to run a specific TTRPG setting that I wrote specifically out for Juneteenth games called Booker's Way. I ran it every year. Um, I got to play at Roll for Luck, one of the flagship shows over at Girls Run These Worlds. Spectacular table. Um, it had been an all black production, GM, players, producer for, I want to say, over a year by the last episode. It is, I cannot stress enough how much, if you have the chance, there are a lot of all black servers, but also there are people who just want to, who are just waiting. If you
Mm.
just hang out on Blue Sky in the TTRPG, there is a little tiny sliver of Venn diagram between Black Sky and TTRPG Sky, and there are your people. There you will find them. So it sounded like a tangent, but no. I've led into the next question, ha ha ha, which is, let's talk about TTRPG and social media while being black. Oh, now it can be it can be fraught trying to navigate the discourse. It's always there. Every time you think you've gotten away, you open the barn door and there's that fucking horse ready to run you down again. I hate the discourse. He's so shiny. He's so round. He tramples me so like a CD. Now, when you are forced to engage, when you find yourself caught in this discourse, this space where a lot of times you're gonna find, how do I phrase this? There's a lot of fucking assholes out there, and it can negate and derail the entire conversation. How do you engage when you find that you are caught by the discourse? He's got you, or it's a reverse lasso. How do you engage with this being black in the TTRPG space?
I think I can. I think
Please.
I can start. Yeah, I easy answer block. Block button is free, and yeah, I don't know. I'll keep it a buck. If niggas want to act stupid, then they get the block button. That's how I say it, right? Right. I produce a lot of my videos and art on YouTube. And knowing YouTube and Google and just social media apparatuses and growing up in the 2010s where Gamergate was a thing, where there's a lot of anti-black violence and anti-black harassment, right? As a Gen Zer, I'm coming from a perspective of knowing that these platforms aren't always the safest places to be.
Mm.
So I learned early on that I wanted to curate an audience of people that would, generally speaking, support me. Obviously, being careful not to create a weird parasocial relationship, be clear. But I made a network and started creating a community of people that cared about me and that at least would call me in when I made a mistake. And that
Mm.
also meant blocking people when they were being toxic. Like, I literally was just casually just checking my comments for a question like this, and I have literally seen like 2 comments, some goofy ass, ridiculous responses. But my philosophy is just to block them, to not engage unless you absolutely need to, and to keep your day moving, right? And know that these people would never say this to your face unless they were emboldened to, because they're cowards. Period. They're cowards. So block them, protect your space, and build your community early on to nurture the kind of groups and people you want. At least that's how I do it.
Mm.
That's amazing advice. Scout Javante, which one of you wants to?
I will sit here and I will admit that the discourse be beating my ass sometimes, because I came up on the internet. You know, I was 13 in 2000. You know, and sitting having like horrible conversations and like fighting people on the internet. So I have to sit on my hands a lot. But the problem is bitches like to get cute and I'm adorable. So I just sometimes it hops out. So what I try to do, knowing that about myself, is I try to use my powers for good. So I only really like jump in when it's like I have something salient to say that I can get across quickly that isn't like too like personally incendiary. Cause I'll take it to hell. Like so I very rarely I will more frequently post about something that bugs me than I will about like jumping into like conversations that are already like on fire. But I realize in this moment that I need to be talking about more joy. So that's something I feel like we should all be mindful of.
I wish I could say I often am the bigger man in these situations. I'm not. Um, so we just talked like before we started. We just talked about the fact that I did professional wrestling. I played a
Mm,
heel, which is a bad guy, a lot. I'm very used to people not liking me. The thing is that if it's I'm not active on Blue Sky, I'm still active on Shitter. Um, just because that's where I'm comfortable. That's fine. The thing is that if you are just on the public side of Twitter, I really could give a fuck less about your opinion. If you're posting it on your wall, I don't really care. You want attention, I'm not going to give it to you. Now, it's different if it's in my DMs, because at that point you came to me. Now I'm just going to call you an idiot. I've gotten plenty of those. The nuclear block button exists on my Twitch for if you are bothering the people that are around.
mm,
I could not care less what you say to me because I've heard worse from people that paid money to see me. Like, what are you gonna do? So, and I don't let it stress me out. And I will say that my wife is a huge like help with that because she's the one that has constantly been like, "You're doing good. You know, you put out great stuff. People like the thing that you're seeing. Why would you care about people that don't? You know, because all they want is attention." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fair." So I don't. I just choose. I really do just choose not to care because at the end of the day, if you've watched my content, you've watched my content. Your review count, like your opinion, now means less than nothing to me because you sat there and watched the whole fucking thing, which means that your view went into my paycheck. So who cares? Hate watch me all you want. That's still 25 cents. So
I love it. Oh my goodness.
being a heel has given me that kind of little ego boost. So
Look, one of one of the many marvelous life lessons just gifted laid before me like pearls before swine by Marvin Floyd before he left this world was well, quite frankly, I've had worse from better. That part. It'll shut him down all day because it's almost always true. I I have never, not in my life have I ever been insulted by someone of such low class and taste and had it affect me. I'm gonna need you to move along. You know, just good day. I wish you good day, sir. Um, I love that. Thank you all so much. It is. I think it's important to talk about the fact that sometimes we all know what we should do, which is how Blurry handles it and how we gonna handle it, which is quite often how Shavante handles it. And Scout is sitting there and caught in the moment between we're all like, sometimes I will, and sometimes I won't. And, and that sound was someone standing right off camera trying to participate in the conversation and texted me without knowing that my phone was not on mute.
Oh,
No, it's not my kid. It's my sister. Hold on. I thought I had myself on D&D. That's terrible. Fixed. There we go. Pardon me.
it was so magical sounding, though. It was lovely.
I know, right? That's exactly what I need. Okay, yeah, no, let's see. What does Krishna say? She just wanted everyone to know that she cast Fly Swatter of Blackness because I was sitting here waving it as a wand, and she's correct. I'm casting Fly Swatter of Blackness upon this conversation. Discourse. Good day. Horse is gone. Let's talk about something else. Ooh, you know what? I've got up the questions, and this one kind of ties in, which is what are best practices for protecting your energy in this space? Like we've talked about blocking when it comes to discourse on social media, but there's more to protect. There's more to the space than that. It's not just social media. It's the 5 million discords you're in, and it's all the mailing lists, and it's the 700 lists on Blue Sky, and it's the 5 struggling communities on Twitter. And so what are your best practices for protecting your energy when you're dealing with all of that?
I will start this one because I want to say, because this is important for anyone that is listening. Holy shit, make friends. Oh my god, make friends. So number one, if you want to get into like actual play stuff, there is a business side of things. Absolutely. That is secondary to you just making friends in this space because that leads to the other things. But I have leaned on the people that I am the closest to so much for just peace. I like people to vent to, people to like, hey, I want to pat myself on the back, but I don't want to look like an egomaniac. You need to cheer me on today, kind of shit. People to bounce ideas off of. I mentioned him at the start, but like Arclight Court, Paige, all my friends from Initiative Order that I became super close to, Casper the MB Ghost, Jellyfish, friggin' all the people that I got super, super close to. I am still exceedingly close to the point where it's like if I am looking for other people to like join me and stuff, those are the ones I go to first out of anything. Make friends in this space before you ever start trying to make like a business partner or anything like that, because that's your lifeline. That's so important to you because the neighborhood isn't the neighborhood unless you know your neighbors. You ain't
Man.
inviting just anyone to the cookout. You got to know the people that are coming to it.
Yes.
So absolutely, make friends in this space.
Also, I wrote it, but I'm just gonna say it. Shout out to Casper and non the NB Ghost. Oh my god, love them. All right, hi Casper. All right, now Blurdy Scout, what about you? What's your best practice for preserving your peace and your energy?
In addition to, yes, make friends, definitely make friends. But like the side thing to that is that like I am a roleplay gremlin. I love doing like character stuff. I have the Pinterest boards. I have the playlists. I write the fan fiction about my own characters because you know what, I can. So sometimes you just got to get a little weird with it and be a gremlin and have just like fun with it. Like this is a game. We're here to have fun. Like so, it's one of those things of like, we try to be professional and like, you want to like play well when you're in like the actual play and like it's being recorded and stuff like that. But also like a really good example is I have a home game with folks that I knew back in San Diego, and we play Monster Hearts, and because they kind of theme it like around like the idea of like a TV show a little bit. We had a channel in the Discord that was the fandom reacting to things happening in the game. So
I love
like
that.
we had like ship names. We were joking about like, okay, what's the cosplay that's gonna come out of this episode? Just like just have fun. Like
Okay, that is genuinely precious and important advice. Just embracing the fun of it. The, because it is, yes, we all know the business side because God knows we are all so desperately hungry to keep our bills paid and maybe go do something fun that that we're all trying to squeeze money from every stone we can. And sometimes that stone is the game we're playing. Sometimes those rocks are our math rocks that we're trying to squeeze money out of. Um, so it's good to remember that sometimes you can just play. You can just enjoy this. Blurty, what about you, Shug?
For me, honestly, how I protect my energy is also realizing that tabletop games are one aspect of who I am, right? Like, there's something more fun than when you go outside and you feel some grass beneath your feet and you're just like, damn, this shit be hitting different right now. Like, for real, I know this is a joke at this point, but speed run touching grass sometimes. It legit will change your life. And I say that because as a YouTuber, really I hate calling myself a YouTuber sometimes because it's yeah. But as a YouTuber, right, it's kind of an isolating experience. I'm on actual plays as well, but that's not my primary form of engagement and interaction. But when you're a YouTuber or a video essayist or you're focusing your craft, it can be kind of isolating. Obviously, I run games, but it can be isolating. So, being in a community of others, also just going outside and being reflective of like your other hobbies, your other experiences, has really helped me just be in touch with myself and protect my energy and know that I'm a fully fledged human being who has a lot to offer. And secondly, it also helps me create new ideas for new game ideas, new video ideas, and new actual plays I want to be part of. So yes, go touch grass.
Yes. Yes. Never, ever underestimate the importance of your real life because it is always going to influence the way you play. Something's going to sneak in. That lady who was wilding out on the corner, just losing God for no reason, mad at a quarter, just she will make it into your game at some point in the next 18 months and she will be everyone's favorite NPC. Lord, you gonna have to you gonna have to give her happily ever after just so that they stop dragging her along. Like there's all sorts of great things that can happen when you bring the outside world to your table. I would Jen is asking me about the Slayer merchant. No, no, the Slayer merchant is not based off of Lady hollering at a quarter outside on the corner, but it is absolutely kind of it is absolutely kind of based on a real life story, and I will tell you later. Okay, so I'll catch y'all up on the slur merchant later if you do not know. But now, let's see. Let's pull this. Let's pull this to a slightly more serious place because there are some hot and interesting topics that we discussed that I really want to make sure we have time to get into. So now that we've talked about, protecting our energy, let's talk about what we put that energy towards, which is let's talk about resistance in TTRPGs. I want to jump right to the good one. Now, a lot of games, for a lot of really decent reasons, tend to have some very strict, especially if they're APs. They can have some fairly strict guidelines as far as what people are willing to interact with. as far as violence, resistance, all of that, because you've got a lot of different strangers being brought to a table and trusting each other for the first time. It can make for some great storytelling, but it can also be a little restrictive. Sometimes there are stories that you're really looking to explore. There are themes that you want to embrace that maybe you kind of can't in that moment. But I would like to talk about that, specifically the theme of violence as resistance. What does that look like for you in a game? What does violence as resistance look like as opposed to just violence? And also, how do you feel about violent resistance in games? Uh, and do not feel like you got to cut this one short. Expound upon it as you need. I will take notes and double back.
Devontae, you want to go?
I'm gonna think about my answer. I'm trying to do an answer that's may not get me in trouble.
I'm gonna probably do an answer that will probably I'll just give my answer and we'll go from there. I think RPGs are really just ways to explore topics. They are ways to explore yourself. They are forms of communication. They are a way to explore your art. And they can also just be fun ways for people to experience different things. And with that, I think violence as resistance is one of those topics that is central just to Black identity because, well, Black folk have resisted in all sorts of ways, non-violently and violently, like historically. That's like a material reality, acknowledging that, right? And how slave rebellions and whatnot are a thing, right? And folks, and also during civil rights era, folks were arming themselves with weapons. Some people were doing that. So like that's a material reality. So when I think about it in the context of RPGs, I'm of the mind that they are a necessary reality. And I take that in the way of when I'm wanting to run a game, I want to explore certain topics. Some topics might not always be for all tables.
Mm.
For example, if I'm exploring, say, a game that's themed around, say, you know, in general, just generally speaking, abuse, right? I'm not going to go to, say, say TTRPG kids looking for games, right? Something like that. Like, obviously, I'm not going to look for something like that because that's just not the scope, right?
Okay.
But there are obviously going to be servers and whatnot and players who might want to explore those more struggling and more controversial topics because I do think they are worth talking about and having those deep discussions, right? As no different than having transgressive literature or transgressive books or games or whatnot that are more controversial. They're necessary and should never be censored or whatnot because people deserve to explore those topics. People deserve that, right? And I say that as someone who's in, say, a server like Faggot Games or who's ran more difficult horror games. They were probably the most fun games I've probably ever played. Like, for example, there's this game called Bluebeard's Bride. Bluebeard's Bride has to be one of yes,
This game.
yes. Bluebeard's Bride has to be one of the best experience I've had. It was truly like I played that game and I was shaking my boots for the goosebumps I was feeling. I played it on Start Playing and it was phenomenal. Like the themes of violence, misogyny, patriarchy, historical trauma, collective abandonment, all those other themes, right, were present in the game and we addressed them, right? And even if the ending was deeply sad, but it was powerful. I left it realizing that I had a voice to share and that I know this game needs to be heard to other people. And with that in mind, I think that's the power to RPGs, especially actual plays, that sometimes these difficult conversations need to be had. It just depends on who's having them, where they're happening, and how do we do that, right? And that's maybe a bigger question, but I'll leave the floor for others now. I've yapped enough.
Spectacular.
I think Javante Are you still percolating, or
I think I got what I
Okay.
was thinking of. Being blunt first, and then I'll dissect what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in the actual play space and in the TTRPG media in general have a very cartoon view of what resistance means,
Yeah,
and that is a problem.
wake it up?
I agree. I
The
agree.
thought, the
Speak.
thought process that they seem to have is that resistance is that history is painted with the blood of resistance, as opposed to resistance is the ocean that our world is made from, and it is only blood. At no point in history has that blood also ever been the bad people. Where I come into issues is there's this veneer of what we have to do has to be done correctly when it comes to violent resistance. I'm going to take a game that I really like, and I will say where I have an issue with it, which is Eat the Reich.
Mm.
Great game. Here's my issue with how I see people playing it. Nazis are not just the soldiers. Nazis are the people who said, oh, there's a Jew living over there. It's the baker that he didn't do anything wrong, but he's not going to help you. That's also a Nazi. In the same vein of a good cop sitting next to a bad cop is still a bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
Speak on it.
I am running a One Piece game. I have at 0 point said that any of the Marines are good people. Everyone that has ever watched One Piece knows that the Marines are assholes. There are good Marines, but they are not good people. They support and work for a corrupt government. Punch them in the face as hard as you can. Violent resistance does not also necessarily mean that it is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit here and point to the history of black violent resistance and say, yes, this paved the way for all of the good things that we have. It absolutely did. Because as many peaceful protests as we talk about, shit didn't start changing till we fired bullets at it. So, but I'm also not ignorant enough to then point to those same things and go, this also led to problems. And not every violent resistance is a good resistance. Not every act of violence is perpetrated for the best of everyone. We can talk about the French Revolution and how good the French Revolution was. Maximilien Robespierre also had his head cut off. Violent resistance needs to be done with a purpose in mind. And sometimes that purpose is a little muddy. Sometimes people that you didn't think could get caught in the crossfire get caught in the crossfire. Blurty, like you said, absolutely, there are spaces to run these things and spaces where you don't run those things. I would never run something like Eat the Reich with like new people to TTRPGs that are not like into that at all. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah, God no.
However, my umbrage is if you are wanting to explore these kind of topics, but you want to have this beautiful picture of what resistance looks like, I need to remind you that the red in that picture is not paint, and it doesn't just come from the bad guys. It's so important because one of the major things happening is this repainting of our history as like a society. We did not begin, especially for the US, we did not begin at a good place for everyone. And to paint this picture of resistance only targeted the evil is negligent to what it means.
Mm.
as a POC, I think that history is one of the most important things we have because it's the only thing we have. That's our stories. So it's a disservice to me, in my opinion, to these stories if you slap like other things in front of it and go, well, we can just ignore the bad part. Like, no, don't ignore the bad part. That makes you human.
Mm.
We make shitty mistakes all the time. We do. That's good. That's how you tell a story.
Mm.
Epic tells the story of Odysseus. Odysseus was a douchebag for a good chunk of Epic.
Mm.
You know, like people that we idolize do terrible things.
Mm.
Let them tell that story. Let that story be the thing. Again, this is not for every table. I wouldn't run Avatar: The Last Airbender to a group of 15-year-olds and be like, we're going to explore the ramifications of genocide. Like,
That's my show.
but I would maybe then, with like a group like us, I would maybe go, hey, we're going to run through a very specific era of Avatar,
Mm.
and we're going to see the ramifications of decisions that were made, both the good and the bad, you know.
Okay, so a lot of my thoughts about this are disjointed, but I think a lot of my thought processes about like violent resistance in like TTRPGs is kind of in a meta construct because I'm actively working on a game. It's a solo game. It's cyberpunk inspired. So with everything that's been going on with the payment processors overreaching, viciously overreaching, it kind of there's a point when you're talking about revolutionary behavior and like, you know, there's that conversation of not everybody's built for the revolution. Sometimes your job is to protect your neck and things like that. And we come to points where we have to ask ourselves, no, actually, I don't think I can not involve myself in this anymore. Because like, you know, a lot of us, especially as we're trying to build presences and like, you know, make livings, there's like the whole sin of palatability, you know, in the decisions we make and what we talk about. But like, if you're it's adjacently related to like discourse about kink at Pride, where like people want so badly to be safe that they forget that the fringes and the outsiders were the only protection we had for so long. And it's like, maybe I need to be committing to being weirder about all of this. Like, you know, when, you know, and that's like, I think a lot of spaces where people don't make character choices because they don't want to harsh the buzz at the table and they don't want to get like too deep in this pretendy fun times we're all having. But like, I think as actual plays evolve as a storytelling medium, I think it's important that we actually go, no, wait, what does this choice actually mean? Especially in spaces where we comparatively have no skin in the game, where it is fictional and we are not actually going to bleed for it. Because if we can conceive of those thoughts in safer spaces, then maybe we can conceive of those thoughts outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scout.
To piggyback off of what you said, there is a this may be a question that pops up, and if it is, stop me. There is I think this weird high horse that a lot of people seem to have when it comes to actual plays in TTRPGs that is the comfortability of what they view cannot be challenged. And when that comfortability is challenged, they're so surprised and baffled and then want it to change back. And it's really funny that they then will also, out of the side of their mouth, question why we don't explore harsher topics. Critical Role will put a pinky toe into these harder topics. Again, I got started with Critical Role on campaign 2. They brought up my favorite thing, which is you do not have to kill an enemy to win.
Mm-hmm.
People lost their fucking mind. Everyone was like, no, he deserves to die. He did horrible, horrible things. Why aren't you killing him? That proves nothing. None of you watch the show. It's the exact, and it's weirdly, it's the same discourse that happens with people talking about Adventure Time and Steven Universe, where they're like, why didn't the 12-year-old kill the enemy? Brother, my brother in Christ, you are 37. He's like 14. Like, you ain't him. What is wrong with you? But again, did you watch the thing and actually take in its messages and the stories that it's telling? Or did your hee-hoo brain turn on and you go, hoo-hoo, shiny click-clack stones and ships? Give a fuck about the story. Give a fuck about the messages that it's saying. Care about the actual characters and the things that they're going through, not your stupid fanfic you put into your head that you want to transplant into reality. Because that's why these stories don't get told. The reason as to why we don't get to explore these topics is because every time that we do, you all cry and screech and go, oh, but that's not what I wanted. Yes, it is. You said it was. Let it happen the way that it should be happening. Let the story tell itself. Every single person creamed themselves at Sinners, as they should. It's a fantastic movie because it told hard fucking topics. Let them tell hard stories, and you will see amazing stuff. You will see incredible. I cannot stress enough how one of the coolest characters I get to play around with is a guy whose character is a divorced dad.
That's good as fuck.
That's struggling with like finding out where his kids are, and his wife has moved on. It's amazing. I'm adoring this. This isn't even the hardest thing in my game. Let people explore stuff. It's so much better.
Okay. So let's talk about that exploration some more. Let's kind of focus in on that because y'all have said a real particular truth. And we've heard it from in various forms from all of you, which is that we see we understand that people can come to APs for comfort. Some people come because they're looking for a very specific kind of feeling, emotion when they play, when they watch. But it has it's a pervasive creep. Everybody wants to be monetized. Everybody wants to chase that 25-cent watch, which means that when you're talking about the AP space, you're talking about a lot of sanitized areas. Areas where even if you've got a table willing to explore it and a channel that says, okay, we would like to let y'all go there, there's still external guidelines that can change and alter this. So let's talk about how you work with and around that when you find yourself in a public space and you're having to deal with this whole topic of revolution of violence in a story. And especially right now with the global rise in fascism that is just sweeping. And we're fine, and it's prying away at everything. It's real easy for someone to go, I feel like your story reminds me of an unnamed space, and that unnamed space would like to have your story removed. We've been there. Now, how are you dealing with this? For good, for bad, for rough? How do you deal with it in real time? How do you wish you were dealing with it? How do you want us as a community to deal with it?
Oof. Okay. I can wrestle. Could I start?
Mhm.
We'll bring sex on the topic as well because we live in a puritanical society
Hello.
and people acting like sex isn't literally how all of us got here, right? And by the way, as someone who's demisexual, right? Like, I get it. It's a struggle. But I need to make it clear that when I'm navigating these spaces, I make it very clear about my audience, about who I'm creating it for, and most certainly, thirdly, why I'm doing it for myself. I make video essays about, quote unquote woke culture. I fucking hate how the word woke has been literally used as like a freaking like tool by alt writers now. But nevertheless, right? I make videos about like, what is wokeness in D&D. I make videos talking about niche RPGs. I make video topics talking about like very difficult topics, knowing good and well that they are probably not going to do well. And I do it because I want to explore these topics for myself. First and foremost, it gives me genuine joy and educational and fulfillment that I cannot get from my day job, that I cannot get from, say, any other hobby. And exploring these topics for me, keyword for me, feels good. And because I also know fundamentally that there will be other people that see this, regardless of platform, and will resonate with that. And knowing that these platforms are going to be puritanical, are going to be censoring, are not going to allow you to pay, because you already know what I'm referencing, right? Pay for the things that you earned your money for. Keyword, right? I realize that I have to stand in my own truth. I have to stand in my own truth and be uncomfortable with that. And I'll tell that as, for example, I'm right now working on a video essay about faggot games, talking about my experiences and sort of unpacking like why I don't talk about sex in some of my games. And I only learned that by playing, reading, and discussing these games and thinking about it and realizing, wait, I just might have a more internalized queerphobia and transphobia that I just haven't unpacked. And when you start thinking about it and you start unraveling these conversations in yourself, you realize that this isn't just like one single issue, but rather a systematic problem across any platform you go on. But it really starts out by standing in your truth and realizing your own faults and then moving on from there. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it scary? Yes. But you don't have to do it alone. These platforms are already trying to isolate you to be to do everything and isolate you, right? Endlessly doom scroll on YouTube, endlessly doom scroll on Twitch. Well, maybe not on Twitch, but endlessly doom scroll on Blue Sky or Twitter, right? But it's really important to be with your community, stand in your truth, and to create the things you love, even when people don't want you to create it, because there will always be people who want to see your stuff, regardless of whatever tech billionaire wants to say about having every friend be your AI partner or whatever garbage ass take Spotify wants to have, right? You got to know yourself and know your community, regardless of whatever tech billionaire wants to shovel AI software down your throat.
I'll speak from a point of experience on almost getting stuff removed because of things. The first ever campaign I ran as an actual play was a Dante's Inferno game.
Ooh.
On the initiative board.
It's cool.
Inferno 5e. And I remember getting a DM from, I don't even remember the name of the group. It was Christians Against something. Two things had popped up that I was like, all right, well, one of these I'm surprised came up, but sure. And the other one I'm not surprised at all. Number one, I was running a game that was set in hell. Didn't like that. The other one was a bit more surprising as it's information that I was like, I don't know how that got out, but that I'm a secular Satanist, which is a funny way of saying I'm atheist, but I like saying I'm Satanist to freak Christians out. That got out, and they were threatening to get my stuff like canceled off of the initiative board or on YouTube. To which my response was, bet. What the fuck do you have that could possibly do anything? And if you do get that removed from there, I'll post it somewhere else. So now I'm very open if I do feel like I've offended a group that I didn't know existed. If you come to me and we have a conversation. This has happened. Sometimes I don't realize, hey, I overstepped, didn't know. We've had a conversation. I'll fix this. On the other side of this, if you don't say who you are, and you don't give me any information, and you just talk shit, I don't really care what you represent at that point, because you're not actually representing the group, you're representing your ego, and I don't really care if I hurt your ego. Because, again, you watch the show, so what do you want from me? You can't vomit the show back out, and I can't give you a refund for it. It's in your mind now. Let that stew in there and shut up. But I admit I sometimes don't handle stuff super well in private. But that's because if you come at me in private, now you're in my space and I don't care. Public, I'm happy to have conversations and engage politely, as long as that is reciprocated. There's been plenty of groups that, genuinely speaking, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you doing this, and I'll learn. I think that's an important thing, is sometimes we overstep, genuinely. Sometimes we have to learn. Sometimes it's not always on said unnamed group. Sometimes they just go unnamed because they didn't fucking know. But in the same way that we have to navigate this world as actual play, like producers and creators, if we tiptoe and go, oh, well, this group doesn't want to do that, and we take a step back and then we try to do it again, we never move forward. And we constantly take a step back, and we constantly take a step back, and and now we're back at square one, and that doesn't work for anything. Because though it's just like, sure, it's just you and your thing, but then they realize that they can do that, and then they go to other people, and bigger, and then we have what we currently have. Now, the thing is that you can play within certain levels of rules that Twitch has, like I will put Twitch as an example. Twitch has certain layers of rules that I have to play within the bounds of, which I'm happy to play within the bounds of. I will sometimes step over those bounds if I know that Twitch isn't going to nuke me from orbit. Because typically speaking, oftentimes these boundaries are only really in place if you're egregiously stepping over them. But in the same way, test it. Test that theory. Because sometimes it's just, there is no actual bound on that. Sometimes it's just the limiters that other people have placed. And if that doesn't matter, and if really you notice that they don't actually care, it's just whatever the hatred I have for this one person, who gives a shit? Step over that boundary if you and your group are comfortable stepping over that boundary.
Uh-oh.
I think Javante went out.
I can actually talk about it.
Spectacular. That was
the
thank you.
So bringing up the thing about boundaries is, I think as a culture, it's a real good time to reintroduce two concepts, which is the concept of boundaries and the concept of curiosity. Because And with all the love in my heart, you know, I am a performer. I want people to see my shit. I want people to experience things that make them feel things. But not everything is for you. That's
Amen.
it.
I'm back.
That's it. That's the point. That's it. Not everything is for you. But some things could be for you. And there's a balance you have to strike, and each person has a different balance. And I am so very sorry, but it is not the responsibility of other people to find that out for you. You have to do some internal work, and you have to find that out for yourself. It's a messy process. Sometimes you hurt your own feelings when you do it. Like this I love that people are talking about things and being more honest about stuff in spaces, and the validation of things that we don't talk about has been good for a lot of things. However, there is this I'm gonna butcher the quote, but opiate of the masses, something something, where people get so used to things comforting them and validating them that they don't realize that things are supposed to challenge them. Like I distinctly remember one of my favorite shows on this entire planet is Revolutionary Girl Utena. That show is rough. Like it aired in a prime time slot for a reason. It is explicitly about how adolescents can devour children. But also you learn things by watching things like that, because I did not realize I was being abused until I saw it metaphorically outside of myself. And I went, "Hang on. This feels familiar." And if I was so worried about things always being fun and comfortable, we cry at movies for a reason, y'all, and it's not always because it makes us feel happy. Sometimes you watch some shit, you're just like, I need to go outside right now. And that's part of the human experience too. And I think in creating these honest stories, we need to make sure we're pushing for that room, because clearly if we just try and let it go naturally, it ain't gonna come. We have tried to let it come naturally and it has not worked.
Yes.
There's a saying that I remember, and it's art should comfort the uncomforted and make uncomfortable the comfortable.
mm,
Yes. I think that there is. Oh, good. I am. I think that there is a real problem in overlap in the communities of people who are trying rightfully and correctly to defend themselves, to kind of protect themselves when necessary and put down boundaries, but also the internet as we have currently allowed it to become is less of a tool that we can use and more of an infectious psychic connection. We have
mm,
all made ourselves a little bit telepathic in the worst way possible. Everybody is they're constantly, are you thinking about a thing that hurts you? Are you in fact perhaps talking about a thing that hurts you to a very small and select group that you trust? Well, cool. Here comes your psychic damage internet monster called the algorithm, and it's going to grab those keywords and start throwing it at you, and then people react in the most negative way, trying to protect around themselves, a la clam making a pearl, oyster making a pearl. I know what the fuck makes a pearl. It's fine. Um, they're like, no, and they push back harder. It's the most bizarre thing I have ever seen in my many decades on this planet. It's it's so I have trouble contemplating how we move forward with it
Mm,
acting the way it does. And I unfortunately know the answer is we don't. We're going to have to replace what we've got now completely, and unfortunately, they're just going to let it burn before they replace it. But
mm,
that's a completely separate topic. What I meant to say before I started to go down my doom spiral hole on the internet makes us psychic is that please no one clip that. The internet doesn't make us psychic. What I meant to where I was trying to go with this is that I understand the pushback. I understand why people go out of their way to try to avoid these uncomfortable conversations about revolution, these gameplay moments, these but I think what we all need to remember is that once upon a time in the good old decades ago when the internet was new and young, you used to be able to you had to go looking for the things that you wanted to find. Nothing was just randomly shoved at you. And I try to find sympathy in my heart to remind myself that a lot of this snapback, this puritanical bullshit that we are seeing that is absolutely on the rise is coming from a group of people who were essentially abused by this psychic internet monster for their entire childhood. Every
Mm.
time they tried to put down a boundary or discover something, or even separate themselves from something they had accidentally discovered,
mm.
boom, all of this terrible shit's coming down. I try to find sympathy, but y'all, not every shoe is meant for you. Just because it's in your color does not mean it's in your size. You do not have to shove your foot in it and be like, this is uncomfortable, and then lace it up and wear it anyway. You can go ahead and put those boundaries down. The internet's going to make it real hard to respect it. You got to double down. Make your friends. Follow the advice Shavante, Blurdy, and Scout have given you to curate your area, and it will make it easier for you to push back on this. I must be comfortable. You don't have to be comfortable. That's what your house is for. Your bed is for comfort. Your tub is for comfort. Your house dress, girl, your house dress and your bonnet is for comfort. Not necessarily every single story that happens online, every AP, every game that you want to play. Not everything is for you. So that I think that was pretty good. Y'all were so clever. That was so interesting. Like I understand that may sound patronizing, but it's not. Y'all were so fucking clever. That was so
No, no,
interesting.
we cooked. We cooked. Like we really cooked.
Yeah. So since everybody's all since we're on a roll, since you're feeling your things, let me ask you a question. What does performative allyship look like in TTRPGs?
Holy shit! Let me rant for a second. Okay,
Now
so
that you're warmed up, go ahead.
fun fact. This was the reason as to why me and Jellyfish were talking about this shit in the first place. So, holy crap! I'm going to soapbox for a second. The most irritating thing that has ever popped up on my social media feed was hearing somebody talk at POC DMs. You should have more black people in your games. Actual for seconds. Here's the thing. This space is still really fucking new. In general, not just for POC, TTRPG actual plays are really fucking new. They are vastly different to any other atmosphere. So that's number one. Number two, black nerd spaces are hyper new because
Mm.
we were never accepted into those spaces. We had to make it into those spaces. Now, here's the really big number 3. It is not any of your goddamn business what POCs and what POCs are not in my fucking game. Because guess what? I am a POC. So any game that I run has one in it. Sometimes when I put up a casting call, I don't look for a fucking check mark because that's not my point. I want to find the people that I want to run a game with. I'm not now I will make a point that, hey, like if you are anything, like if you are neurodivergent, POC, LGBTQ plus, please put that in because it helps me as well to go like, let me look at the list and see like how many people. Sometimes when I go for a casting call, I get 4 people that respond. And I pick those 4 people because the 4 people responded. Sometimes, like with the One Piece game, I get 28 people. And I go, all right, well, these ones I can actually reach and have had conversations with, and I am comfortable running. But as soon as you say, unless you are already BIPOC or already a BIPOC sphere, especially if you are a white creator, and you make the fucking, if you stand on the pedestal and have the audacity to say, well, you should have more POC, you don't give a good goddamn about what we're doing. You don't give a rat's ass about what we're doing. You are looking at it like it's a fucking spreadsheet. And guess what? It's not a fucking spreadsheet. This system is new. This system has still very few of us. There's a lot more than you'd think, but a lot less than you know. So we play within the space we are given. In the exact same vein of, if you are going to sit there on your fucking pedestal and talk about how you're not shopping at whatever the fuck that you already weren't shopping at in the first fucking place, but now it's nice and cool to say that because it's on the, don't shop here list, this does nothing. You've done jack shit. Your word is worth nothing. Did you donate anything to said causes that will actually help? No? Then shut your ass up. You have applied little to nothing. You've actually done worse because I know what you're doing. Nobody actually gives a shit that you don't drink at Starbucks. You haven't drank at Starbucks since it fucking opened. So who cares? But we know why you're posting why you're not drinking at Starbucks. It's because you can look all nice and good for the nice little pretty people on Twitch so that somebody looks at you and goes, hey, that pile of shit's castable. Shut up. Do actually something. Instead of performing at being an ally, be a fucking ally. Be on the trenches. Be on the front line. Do something. Because the people that sit back and go, I was here. I did a thing. What'd you do? Well, I didn't shop at this place. So? Who gives a fuck? None of us did either. What did you do? I sat on my computer and I bitched. Cool. Good job, buddy. So did Elon Musk. Who gives a fuck? Like, do something. So, if you're not going to contribute, if you're going to patronize, and then if you're going to demand, at what point then are you an ally? Because white supremacy isn't the sharp teeth, it's the gums. Just an incessant rattle. It means nothing.
Javante, when are you writing the book? Because, like, damn, you're in the kitchen cooking.
But the concept of performative allyship, especially lately, is so. This is the thing that actually we'll get in Twitter fights about, because at the end of the day, you're not helping. You actually hurt causes more than you help. If the only thing you do is complain and don't contribute, like, you're not a part of the team. You're not even in the fucking same arena.
Hello. But like, so, I think part of this is because, like, individualism is a poison and everyone wants to be the hero and wants to be the one to do the thing and be rewarded for doing the thing. And like the thing is that like we are actually responsible for each other, and like we need to build more connections outside of the things that we can post online. But I'm gonna be so real about it right now. If you tell me something I need to do, I'm going to tell you all I need to do is stay black and die. The people I surround myself with are the people who let me stay in their house when my marriage was deteriorating. Like, they're the people who literally have given me their shirt off their backs. They're the people who I have keys to their houses to this day. I moved across the country and back. They're not all black people, because not all you skin folk get kinfolk. Like,
Amen.
and like, we need to be honest about that if we're going to actually repair and heal things in spaces. Like, I work with the people I can trust. If you're wondering why I'm not working with you, interrogate that. Like, if you're wondering why these people don't do this, have you incentivized them doing that, or have you just yelled at them? Like, have you actually reached out without trying to castigate somebody before seeing what they do? Hey, like, maybe you could do this thing. Or have you go, you aren't doing this thing, you're a bad person. Oh, okay then. Like, we, like, this puritanical bullshit kills all of us. Like, this punitive, like, Calvinist, like, deterministic, everything is stupid. Like, there is nuance everywhere. Please stop, like, jumping. Like, you're at a level 70. I need you at, like, at least a 5. Like...
And Scout, I think the worst part, and I'm coming this from the YouTube sphere, drama channels, commentary channels, freaking other TTRPG drama channels. I trust me, you know them. I made a video a long time ago, and this might be a tangent, but you're slightly related. You know RPG horror stories? That is one of the most popular, one of the more popular RPG specific threads. It's a lot about like horror stories. People love reading these stuff. There's content mills for them. Plenty of channels, many of them probably white, are like, make that kind of content. I would honestly call them content mills to a certain degree. That's my hot take, right? And you want to know why they sometimes do well? It's because people love watching drama, but without actually doing anything substantial. They love drama. They love the spice of drama, right? That's why we have, even in Twitch, we have huge creators, right? Huge creators who have done verifiable harm. His name starts with doctor and rhymes with respect, right? We have even bread tubers who have done SA, right? We know this, right? We have folks, and people make content off of it. They make content, constant content, so much so that that they have entire channels. We know the biggest gamer on YouTube who makes rage bait content for right-wing chuds. It's an element off the. It's one of the 200 elements off of the periodic table. You know who they are. I'm not going to mention that roach infested household, right? But I make this point because it is verifiably sells well. Rage bait sells well in this attention economy. And we have to either work with that or have this shit just go away. I'm of the mind this shit has to eventually go away, and that we need to start creating art that fundamentally doesn't have to revolve around dealing with rage baiters, and I call them culture vultures, because it's a waste of our time, right? They are wasting our time, wasting our energy, when there are people who do care about us, who will actually materially support us, right? And I think about it this way. If you haven't helped me, if you haven't donated any money to me, you haven't invited me onto a show, if you haven't reached out to me, if you haven't been in any of my servers and we've talked in some capacity, right? You're not supporting me or my community. Like, do something materially. And I'm not just saying that to people like, I'm not telling you just to go outside and start organizing and protesting, because that's not everyone's space. Not everyone's built to be an organizer. Not everyone's built to be an activist out there. And not everyone can verifiably take that risk, especially when you live in a surveillance state. I understand that, right? I totally understand that, right? For example, I don't suspect Black trans women to give up their lives, and wrote that word, and give up their lives, right, for the sake of white people. That's ridiculous. No, we should not be doing that, right? So I think definitely coming at it from the best possible angles, like knowing what you can provide and do materially for people is the best step. The best step. If you aren't donating to my Patreon or anyone else's Patreon, if you aren't donating resources, replies, if you aren't networking with or trying to provide me networking opportunities, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you aren't doing any of that, get the fuck out of my DMs. Get out of my DMs. Or send me a meme. I don't know.
Man, fuck being mean. There is, I'm going to say it, there is an issue with performative allyship in TTRPG space, particularly with white femmes and people who, whether or not they are, get identified as white femmes, because these people really want to help. They do. They do. I will never say that a lot of them don't, because I've seen them fuck up with the best intentions. You can tell they're the best intentions because they have the worst fucking outcome. Nothing has a worse outcome than a best intention. But they haven't understood yet the difference between not liking whiteness as supremacy, as a category that everyone, including white people, is damaged under, and not liking white people. Secretly, they do not know the difference, because you see, if they didn't like blackness, then surely they wouldn't like black people. And it's like, no, mama, because you like me just fine, and I promise you, you don't like blackness. I see it all over you.
To quote from Sinners, they like the music just fine. They just don't like who it's from.
Exactly.
A fucking
They
myth.
don't, and you see it a lot with with people who performatively do this, who want to know why black people aren't leading the way. And okay, well, how can you want more black people on my show, which has so much viewership and so many sponsors, when you, one person playing all by yourself on Twitch, not because you're sponsored, but because you and your friends want a recorded record of the game? Why isn't your game all black? You're black. You know what? You know what? First of all, kiss the darkest part of the blackest bit of my ass. Secondly, that's not, this is what we mean. They think that if you have, they don't think you can have white friends and not, they don't understand they don't understand loving individual white people and hating white supremacy. They do not understand that white supremacy, just like patriarchy, tries to kill everything underneath it, not just its victims, but its perpetrators. It's a system that can only exist by eating everything. It just means that it eats the one on top last. White supremacy destroys white people. It just fucking
Amen.
does.
Speak to it.
Like, and then the other thing, the related corollary there is that, like, there's this, if we have a disagreement, that means I don't like you. No. If I'm fighting with you, there's something there, because if I didn't like you, I wouldn't be wasting my time. Like, and like the personal is the political. Like, I have friends that would, God help me, they can pull up the Discord screenshots of the walls of text, like, bitch, I can't believe you did this, you know, like, like, I don't know who you think you're talking to. Like, but like, I've known these people for like 5, 6, 7, 10 years of my life. And sometimes, like, when you're in a relationship and you are growing as people, the rough edges bump, and sometimes y'all gotta go, hang on, Nuck, if you buck, we gotta shake this out real quick. So, like,
Yeah.
I want there to be more space for, like, one, that kind of confrontation in TTRPG spaces, but also, as much as we work with our friends and like we habitually do so, you don't gotta like everybody you work with. Like,
Nope.
you you don't have to necessarily have deep personal investment to be like, yo, these people are doing a thing, you should check it out. Like, it sometimes it costs nothing to repost the post and shut the fuck up. Like,
Hmm.
Agreed.
I fuck with Cybernation Uncensored. I'm so happy that I worked with them. I ain't being in another one of your guys' games. I love you all to death. I wish you all Godspeed on everything you do. Y'all ain't pulling me to anything.
it goes back to not everything's for you. I
Yeah.
can't be here.
Agreed.
Like,
And Scout, as a I guess like the Gen Zer in the group, I understand from my generation, and I mean this is gonna be a very generational point, but like
mm,
as a Gen Zer, COVID-19,
mm,
Trump's first presidency, economic recession I grew up in, right? Multiple economic recessions, Jesus, right? All
millennial,
of
I
these
feel you.
really stunted Gen Z who are generally like give you the Gen Z stare because they're like, what do you mean? Why are you asking me about stuff about me at my job, right? But I make that joke because I understand that conflict is scary. I get
Mm,
it. Conflict makes me want to run away. It makes me feel like I am going to fight. But in reality, someone having a minor disagreement with me does not mean they hate me. They barely know me. They barely know me. And I think that helps a lot. Sometimes look at the conversation, look at the conflict you're having and think, do they hate me? Do they know me enough to hate me? Because if I'm having an in-depth community-based conversation with you who I've known for years, it means I likely care about you, even if I don't always like all of your perspectives or opinions or matters. Obviously, fundamentals need to matter, right? Like we're not talking like you're a neo-Nazi or something like that,
mm,
but fundamentals are matter. And I want to say this to people who are struggling through that. It's okay to be in conflict with each other. It's okay to be in conflict with other people. What matters is what do you do afterwards and how do you grow from that? And then how do you spread it on to other people, right? Like, how do you deal with conflict and then grow from that? Because you're going to inevitably face it. Gen Z stay or not, right? You're going to face it. So how do you deal with it? And also knowing that not everything's for you, like you said. It's not for you, and that's okay. Repost and keep moving.
Okay. Now, with you guys have given some spectacular fucking information and advice on that, and we're gonna start winding down because we're gonna be looking to ease up. We're gonna ease up out of here around 9 o'clock, y'all. So let's leave this on a real high note. Let me ask y'all. We have talked tonight about how new the AP space is, and specifically how new the area, the black space in AP is. So now let's talk about something real important, which is mentorship in that space. Um, as as we are moving into an entirely new way of the world, now things mentorship in black communities has changed.
mm,
Our physical communities have been broken up significantly over the past 30 years. Redlining, uh, COVID, skin gentrification, the physical spaces have been broken up. And there was, because of that, a pretty decent sized gap in teaching millennials and Gen Z adults essentially how to mentor, how to do things like everybody can be mad and say nobody took over the cookout, but if you weren't the eldest daughter, you weren't being walked through how to host.
mm,
These are not natural skills, they're learned. All of this is learned. So how do you, as someone who is technically an elder in this space, because you have experience, you have connections, you have conversations. I know it's weird, isn't it, thinking about yourself that way, but you are an elder in this space. You've been doing this long enough that you have the support that people need. So, what do you think is the responsibility of Black TTRPGers who have been around long enough that someone should be looking at you as a mentor? Do you think there is a responsibility to be a mentor if you have this? Do you think it's for everybody? Do you think
No,
maybe you should be able to recognize, "Ooh, this is not my calling," and if it's not, what do you think that there's something else you should be offering to the community in its space? Like, let's talk about this.
I think in terms of being a mentor, and just in life in general, one of the most important things is being receptive to change in the
Mm.
space that you are in. Your your horizons can only be broadened if you're open to having your horizons broadened. Otherwise, you're just the same dickhead in a different deck chair. So if it's really weird looking at myself and being like, I guess that's in my position now, but I guess so. If I learn and change every freaking day because that's what you should be doing. And if you are given new information, take and absorb that and provide that to other people. That's really important. Don't just rely on the old head ideologies that have sometimes the stuff that always worked back then only worked back then because the shit sucked. Like, like not all the ways that worked then apply to the now. You don't have to put your bread in the fridge. The bread can be perfectly fine on the countertop, and the exact same with TTRPGs. You don't always have to do the exact same thing that always worked back then. Stuff's new now.
So I'm gonna answer this from the perspective of I run from leadership. Like I do not want to be responsible for people. um because like there's the sense of like the space is so new. Like I'm just here trying to play games, man. I don't know, but at the same time, like part of knowing yourself is that no, actually, maybe I do have a thing that I can help with, if not directly mentor. Like, I don't necessarily think everybody is built to be a mentor, but I think we all have some responsibility in improving the space and looking out for each other. So, coming from it from that point, like, I think like it would be a good place to just kind of interrogate, what about being a mentor makes you uncomfortable? Like, because, that gets into just at the very least, like, what if I back this person and it turns out they're a piece of shit? I have effectively burnt my reputation supporting the wrong horse, which is a valid fear in this space. Um, if certain current events are being uh, told. But yeah, but like, so it's like, and then sometimes you just gotta fortify and, people have backed the wrong person before and communities have recovered from that. So, maybe let's get comfortable with that conceptually. You know, discomfort is where the progress is. That's the larger thesis statement, I feel like, of all the things we've been talking about today. Maybe just be a little uncomfortable. Like, like not quite like frog in a pot kind of situation, but like, just you know how you like working out and your muscles like ache afterwards because you worked out your muscles and you're like, this sucks, I'm in pain. But then you get a little stronger and you get a little stronger. So, it's that kind of uncomfortable.
I I don't know because I don't work out. That is for a different kind of lesbian, a really attractive kind of lesbian. Call me, but not this kind of lesbian. I'm the soft kind. You're welcome. Okay, so now that I'm done flirting with camera 4, what about you, Blurty? You got any thoughts about this?
I've I've been thinking about the mentorship question a lot. I've been seeing it on Blue Sky. I've been seeing it everywhere. And for me, I think I often ask myself, what does that look like? Me giving mentorship to someone. I really just don't know. But what is coming to my mind is that I think I have to be open to it and open to that conversation and being open to what that looks like. I think for me, mentorship just generally just looks like providing information, providing a safe space for other people to come to me, especially other Black and queer and trans folk to come to me when they are feeling lost or unsure of where to go in the TTRPG space, and leaving them with a more positive, uplifting experience. And I think I'm trying to do that by the essay formats that I write and by the art that I create, because I think about this often. Mentorship, I think, can also look like leaving lasting messages on the community,
Mm.
right? I know for a fact that the work we create, there's going to be people who are archiving tabletop role playing games, archiving APs. There are going to be probably anthropologists who are going to be watching. Oh gosh, thinking about that. Anthropologists, if you're watching this, hello. But if you, for anthropologists that look at this, for the researchers that look at this, we want to leave lasting messages and legacies on that. And my question I always ask is, what message are you leaving with them? And I try to leave a message of hope and power despite everything, because niggas have always been here and we will always be here regardless of whatever white supremacist bullshit comes our way, right? I know things look dim and stressful, and I'm not trying to play some sort of, oh, hunky dory, optimistic, gee golly perspective. No, I'm talking realistic. Shit's gonna suck, but shit will also be really awesome. And I think in terms of actual play and art, that means creating the things that you care about, full throttled, feeling unstoppable, and doing it even when you mess up, doing it even when it sucks, doing it even when you struggle, and doing it even when it's really fun, right? Just simply putting that art out there for others and then trying to support your fellow community members, I think, is the best way to do that. And also, for any of the white folk watching or folks in positions of privilege, especially financial privilege, let me be clear, financial privilege, materially supporting your creators means the freaking world. Not to get too much into myself, but video essays take time. APs take time. Go to the coffee, send them $2. Legit, $2 is nothing. Obviously for some people it's a lot, but you know what I mean. People who have financial money, if you're a banker or working in investment capital, which if you are, donate to all the people that are here. All right, but no, in all seriousness, mentorship literally just looks like supporting a community, supporting a message that's positive, and creating the art that will last after you.
Thank you so much for that. I think that is a spectacular place to kind of wrap up our thoughts on mentorship in the community, because we have been having a spectacular time. I don't know if y'all noticed, but we've been at this for 2 hours. Um,
What?
yeah, baby. It is 6 minutes to 9. And as much as I would love to keep doing this all night, I am gonna have to feed a very hungry teenager. I have 6'5" of 17-year-old, and all of it needs to be stuffed in pizza. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up in a real specific order. We're going to go Blurty, and we're going to go Scout, and we're going to go Javante, because I have a question for each one of you as we let ourselves out. I'll ask you to give people your name, your pronouns one last time, where we can find you, and then I'm going to ask you to give me 3 facts about the best world you ever played in a TTRPG, except for you, Javante. You're going to be telling me about your inherited world, Prince of Momotopolis. All right, so let's start with Blurty. Please go ahead. Tell us who you are, where we can find you, and 3 facts about your favorite world you've ever played in.
Hello, folks. I'm your average everyday queer host, Blurty Disposition. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on youtube.com/blurty_disposition, or just Google Blurty Disposition and you'll find me there. And my 3 favorite worlds. One had to be the fan fiction world from Songbird's third edition. That was so freaking cool. Snow, she just cooks with her art. Seriously, go check out Songbirds. 2 has to be the world of Ravnica that I had played a long time ago with my closest, longest D&D 5e group. The only game I really play 5e in extensively. And 3rd has to have been when I was playing Moonlight on Roosevelt Beach by RR Studios, I believe the author's name is. And it was for a group of other queer people, and it was about the 70s queer culture. And I felt so in touch with my queerness and my gender. It was probably the most fun, most goosebumps I've ever had. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you more questions about that off camera. I want to play that. But for now, Scout, why don't you tell us who you are, where we can find you, and 3 facts about your favorite world you've played in a TTRPG.
Okay, so I am Scout, also known as Neon Saline. That is neon like the light, saline like the drip. I am on that handle literally everywhere on the internet because I make sure nobody can take my shit when new sites pop up. My 3 favorite worlds I've played in. I'm currently in a home game of D&D that's a homebrew setting, and I'm playing a Dragonborn for the first time. And the little tidbit that I've been absolutely fascinated with and playing with is that Dragonborn do not reproduce; they appear in the world. So they just exist, and the storyline I've been doing with that has been great. I'm going to cheat a little, and I misspoke earlier. There was one all-black table that I was responsible for because I ran Scion for a group of friends of mine. That's the old World of Darkness, now Onyx Path game where you play the child of a god. And DMs are players too. And I ran that table. It was a modern, like, urban fantasy thing, and it was hilarious. We fought the World Snake, and somebody yelled "World Star" and started recording. And then I think my 3rd favorite has to be, I'm gonna shout out Jellyfish Lens, who very kindly is letting us use his channel for this. The playback static folks have just been magnificent. Javante had the single funniest thing happen. Eating food that somehow in a house that had been clearly abandoned was pristine, and he decided, we're gonna eat this. No!
I was hungry.
Everything that spiraled out from that was sensational. So just those are the my 3.
All right. Thank you so much, Scout. Javante, I'm going to let you let yourself out in a minute, but you know that's the equivalent of floor food. That's the same as eating floor food. It's like you dropped a hot dog on the ground and say, it's good. That's fine. I'm fine. It's okay.
It was a hot dog too. It was a hot dog too.
No. Okay, I'm fine. Shavante,
I want that as a reaction gift. Just, no.
tell us who you are, where we can find you, and then tell us about your mama's D&D world.
All right, so hi, I'm Javante. I'm a resident TTRPG goblin. You can find me over on my Twitch on Thursdays, Eclipse 613 over on twitch.tv. I run Set Sail, a One Piece 5e actual play. We're going to Skypiea now. That's literally where we are at. On opposing Thursdays to that, I run Blood and Cinders, a game set in the world of Somnus Dominus, made by Logan Laidlaw using the 5.19 system. My favorites. Also, I'm now officially a writer for Games Workshop. I'm working on a Black Library book called Tides of the Galaxy, using the Space Marine chapter that's my favorite, the Karkarodons, which has been a time. I'm sorry that gave me a longer deadline, but that's the thing that I'm working on. Also, I'm working as the lore writer for Arclight Court's new game, Immortal Arena. So if you like Mortal Kombat, hi, I'm making
That
the
sounds so
lore
fucking cool.
for a Mortal Kombat game. It's actually
Sounds
very
like it
close to
whips.
play testing. So,
Yo.
yeah. All right. So this thing, for those of you that don't know, is actually a pretty huge integral part of like who I am. My mom was the most important person to me. Unfortunately, on Mother's Day when I was 11, I lost her to a gunman. I found a bunch of her old stuff and kept it. This included her old Magic the Gathering deck and her journal that had all of her D&D stuff. Within this, it included the basic idea of her old D&D world that she played with her friends when she was in high school. Back in it was second edition D&D. At the time, I was just getting back into playing 5e, and I took that world, and that is my first full-fledged homebrew that I ever made, which is called The Unborn God's Dream, which used a lot of her original like worlds. Her character is one of the monarchs of one of the lands in it. This world has coincided with my other homebrew world, Olurisha, which is based around African culture, myth, and folklore as one of the continents of this world. It's been my side passion project, has been constantly adding and building this thing into where I feel comfortable enough playing it. My mom has been immortalized in a TTRPG as well. La Not Eterna has an NPC back when me and Kevran Games beta tested the game. That's the character I played, who is named after and based off of my mom. So that's a character in the La Not Eterna game. But no, Unborn God's Dream was what and is the thing I've worked on as my like homebrew passion project.
Shavante, I thought this was going to be funny. That is the most beautiful fucking thing
That is
I've
so
heard
sweet. It is
in
so
That's
months.
lovely.
fucking amazing. Oh my god.
We are all feeling some feelings, and I'm gonna let everybody go on that. I'm gonna let y'all go, knowing that you live in a world where you can leave your child decades later with the kind of love that makes a whole fucking stream and
Mhm.
everyone who watches it cry. This world ain't that bad if that can happen. Y'all have a great night. Thank you for showing up.